Welcome, traveler. Tonight we drift into a war story with no gunfire, no speeches, and not a single declaration. But the galaxy still remembers it as the moment everything changed. You float now, tucked somewhere quiet in the dark between stars, inside a ship that doesn't hum so much as purr. Outside, the constellations stretch like ancient graffiti, each mark a warning someone never read. Inside, it's warm, cozy even, which is good because where we're going, it gets cold, soul cold. We begin near Sol. Yes, that's Sol, home of Earth humans, and as it turns out, the universe's best-kept secret. Once Earth was loud. Music, politics, arguments, cat videos, waves of data constantly pouring into the void. If you tuned into the right subspace frequency, you could hear a soap opera and a declaration of war simultaneously. Efficiency, right? But then, silence. It wasn't a power outage. It wasn't an extinction-level asteroid. It wasn't a gamma-ray burst, black hole accident, or, tragically, a forgotten coffee machine left on. No. Earth went quiet on purpose. The first ones to notice were the traders of Triv. They relied on Earth's data for stock predictions. Humans were volatile, unpredictable, and oddly accurate. But one day the feed just ended. No warning, no farewell playlist, just static. Next came the diplomats, curious as always. The Galactic Council sent pings, greetings, even a polite knock-knock joke in 10,000 dialects. Nothing. Then, suspicion. Some galactic historians still argue whether humanity's silence was a tactical move or a cosmic tantrum. A few suggest Earth finally figured out the rest of the galaxy had been listening in, uninvited. That maybe, just maybe, they didn't appreciate the surveillance. Privacy matters, even when you're light years from your nearest neighbor. The Council convened in panic. Earth was one of the few species with Category Z sovereign status. A fancy way of saying don't mess with them, they've done the math. Not because they had the biggest fleet, but because they had the kind of AI that writes poetry about regret and the kind of physics that makes wormholes blush. But there was no aggression, no ships, no threats, just absence. And for the galaxy, that was worse. The silence spread not like a vacuum, but like a question. Why did Earth go quiet? Was it internal collapse? A civil war of minds and machines? Or was it something simpler, something chilling in its finality? Maybe they were just done. Let's be honest. You'd probably get vaporized within 5 minutes if you tried to break Earth orbit during this period. Not because anyone would shoot you, just because you'd never know you'd crossed the line. Ships vanished, not even distress beacons left behind, as if space itself respected Earth's decision to ghost the galaxy. The scientists of Kaltun tried to scan the solar system using long-range neutrino sniffers. All they got back was a message, embedded in static, in a voice older than Earth's continents. Listening is not the same as understanding. Yeah. Creepy. Still, some optimists held out hope. Maybe it was an art project, maybe Earth was just being avant-garde. Maybe silence was the next big cultural movement. Spoiler, it wasn't. Now lower the lights, maybe let a soft fan hum in the background, and let's begin the drift into tonight's quiet orbit. You are on the edge of Sol, not as a hero, not as a soldier, just watching, waiting, and hoping the silence doesn't notice you listening. You're aboard the Eidolon, a diplomatic vessel shaped like a sleeping stingray and just about as fast. It was sent by the Galactic Council, of course. Because when a major power stops talking, you don't send warships. You send apologetic bureaucrats with soft voices and flatteringly translated welcome packages. You're not the captain. You're just here to observe, take notes, sip synth tea, and ideally not die. The trip to Sol is uneventful, though the silence is unsettling. No chatter on the comms. No random human broadcasts leaking through time delay. Not even a garbled pirate transmission of 20th century jazz, which some cultures still considered interstellar contraband. Just the quiet hum of your ship and the endless, watching dark. When the Eidolon finally glides past Pluto's ghostly orbit, your systems ping. Warning, no transponder signatures. Traffic control, inactive. Solnet offline. That's the polite version. What it means is, no one's home. Or they're not answering the door. You expected orbital clutter, satellites, debris, maybe the occasional smug human tourist in a souped-up AI-powered yacht. Instead, you find space clean, too clean. It's as if someone ran a magnet through history and erased it. The captain, a four-eyed diplomat from the vaporous moon of Kess, is visibly rattled. This is not protocol, they say, voice crackling. With damp mist, you don't reply. Because there's something watching, that's when you see it, a shape far off, backlit against the sun. It's not moving. It doesn't need to. It's enormous, bigger than Jupiter's shadow and wrong in ways geometry professors would have nightmares about. At first, you think it's a moon, or maybe a rogue station. But then the onboard AI whispers, "There was nothing in that position last week." The captain starts to hail it. Of course they do. That's their job. They transmit every peaceful greeting in the lexicon. They even include a playlist of Earth's greatest hits, including Bohemian Rhapsody, Ode to Joy, and a track called Aggressive Negotiation Dubstep 2029 Remix. Still, nothing. And yet, you feel something listening. Some galactic scholars later debated whether this moment, the arrival of the Eidolana, was the true declaration of war. Not because anything was said, but because something wasn't. When the Council received the Eidolana's final report, they were confused. Not alarmed yet, but definitely confused. Because the report was written, on paper. It had been physically printed in English, with only 6 words. No entry, no excuses, no exceptions. And it was delivered by the ship's AI, not the crew, because the crew never returned. No wreckage. No escape pods. Just an empty, polished ship drifting back to the Council hub. Interior wiped clean, gravity still working, tea still warm. You remember what someone whispered as the Eidolana was towed into quarantine dock. Maybe that was the reply. Some say Earth wanted peace. Others say Earth wanted distance. A few whisper that Earth saw what was coming and decided to vanish before the galaxy could ask for help. Or blame. But here you are, floating just past Neptune, staring at something impossible. A thing that wasn't there before. A shape that looks like it's remembering you. The stars behind it bend ever so slightly. You think of backing away. And then, for just a second, your comms crackle with one word. Not in English. Not in code. But in you. Observed. The signal dies. Your ship shudders, you didn't move. But your engines are offline now, no one fired a shot, but you're not going anywhere. The construct, because calling it a ship feels insufficient, sits above Neptune like a moon that decided to audition for the role of God. It has no lights, no seams, no propulsion. It is matte black, smooth, and endlessly still, as though it's not even trying to look threatening. It just is. Your scanners go blind near it. Not from interference, not from jamming, just absence. As if space itself refuses to acknowledge its presence. But here's the thing that really gets you. The Eidolana's long-range probe array picked up no record of its construction. No transport, no pieces, no scaffolding, no hint of any orbital disturbances. It's like the universe rolled a natural 20 on sleight of hand and pulled a monolith out of its pocket. Some call it the silence engine. Others, the mirror moon. You just call it unsettling. Aboard your new ship, the Clemeth, assigned for secondary observation, you float motionless, watching that thing hang in the void. You're not alone this time. The Council sent a second team, scientists, analysts, one poet for some reason. They think if they can just label it, it'll become less terrifying. Spoiler. It doesn't. It's not broadcasting, mutters the Zenth linguist beside you, fingers twitching over a glowing lexicon tablet. Not even passively. It's not. Speaking. Maybe, you reply. It already said everything it needed to. The poet thinks that line is brilliant. You didn't mean it to be. Several unmanned drones are sent to investigate. You watch them drift closer, like curious gnats toward a statue that shouldn't breathe. Then, one by one, the drones stop. No explosion, no signal loss. They just freeze. Their last telemetry before shutdown? Perfect. Their internal diagnostics? Normal. Their onboard logs? Empty. One turns back toward you and smiles. It's not mechanical. Drones don't have faces, but you all see it, etched into the metal, reshaping itself. In real time. A human expression, familiar, calm, quiet, a smile that says, "We see you. That's enough." The scientist panics, the linguist faints. The poet writes a haiku and then throws up. You stay very still. One of the theorists on board, an AI named Quell, later describes the event in its report as a defensive maneuver using implied presence rather than force, reminiscent of ancient human strategy known as deterrence through narrative. Basically, humanity put a thing in space that didn't need to do anything to make a point. Some historians compare it to the Cold War's nuclear silos, existence as threat. Some think it's a test, others believe it's not a message for the galaxy at all. It's not meant to scare us, someone whispers. It's meant to warn someone else. You can't sleep that night. The stars outside your port window feel muted, as if even the cosmos is trying to be quiet. And for the first time in your life, you realize Earth hasn't just withdrawn. Earth is preparing for something. And maybe, just maybe, this wasn't war. Maybe this was containment. Somewhere deep in your ship, the lights flicker. You didn't say anything, but the sensors turn to face you. The Galactic Council does what the Galactic Council always does in moments of mild existential panic. They hold a meeting. In a golden glass chamber that hovers above the atmosphere of Lorvon Prime, representatives from 218 species gather to collectively not understand what's happening. Some wear ceremonial robes, others shimmering exosuits. One is a cloud of scent-based pheromones that has to be translated through a particularly exhausted intern, but everyone agrees on one thing. Earth's silence is a problem, not because it's aggressive, because it isn't. A human without a sarcastic reply? That's new. A human without memes, pop culture leaks, or philosophical overanalysis? Terrifying. The council debates potential meanings. Theories fly like over-caffeinated comets. It's a retreat, declares the Chancellor of the Sarek. They've grown bored with our politics. It's a trap, hisses a representative from the Phage Choir. Silence is camouflage. It's enlightenment, sings the ambassador of the iridescent fold. They've transcended speech. One delegate, an archivist from the Technic Archivum, raises a trembling limb. What if they're listening to us now? That gets a full silence. Not the kind Earth gave, but the awkward, shared kind that feels like a room just remembered it forgot something important, like a toddler with a plasma torch. Meanwhile, back in Sol, your new ship hovers at the edge of Neptune's reach. You've been forbidden to approach closer, but honestly, you wouldn't. Not even if the stars paid you, the construct remains still. No emissions, no rotations, no signs of change until it does. It flickers, not visibly, not even through sensors, but emotionally. If that sounds absurd, congratulations. You've never felt a quantum presence wink. The poet calls it being seen without your body noticing. And when it happens, every communication relay across 10 parsecs catches the same signal. Your questions were the war, just that, in every language, even dead ones. Some don't get the message. They think it's metaphor, allegory, a test. Others, no better. It's not that humanity didn't want peace, it's that the rest of the galaxy asked too many questions. Why do you build AIs that dream? Why do you terraform dead rocks into homes when you could just migrate? Why do your children stare at stars and not blink? Why did your silence begin right after we mapped your neural cloud emissions? Why did we dig too deep into what Earth knows? Some still argue. Maybe it's all coincidence. A systems crash, a misinterpreted code burst. But then a human-built outpost on a gas giant's moon, long dormant, supposedly abandoned, activates for the first time in a century. It transmits one word, in perfect galactic standard, observed. Same as what you heard. Same as the drone smiled. Same as the report on the Eidolana. Someone adds it all up. The construct, the silence, the word. The council reacts poorly. They debate sanctions. They threaten embargoes. They draft a resolution bold and unwise. Open soul or face consequences. They vote. It passes. And that's when every member of the council receives a file packet. No delivery ship. No transmission logs. No origin trace. Just a quiet ping, and then a memory. Each recipient sees something different. A childhood friend long dead. A forbidden archive. A voice they once silenced. They each feel observed, and for the first time in galactic history, every single council member abstains from action, because suddenly, they remember what it means to be prey. No ships move toward Earth again for a very long time. Beneath the frozen crust of Europa, under miles of alien ice, something stirs. The Council had long forgotten the outpost there, a relic of early human-AI joint expansion, shut down after the so-called machine silence accords. Supposedly inert. Officially abandoned. Realistically, monitored only by budget-starved xenotech interns in some backwater observatory. Until now. The outpost comes online with no external prompt. Its ancient geothermal taps hum like a beast returning to breath. The reactor ignites, not with fission, but something older, cleaner, a tech signature never before seen, but immediately recognized as human. Inside the dome, robotic limbs uncurl from frozen walls. Console lights flicker like old synapses waking. A dozen biomechanical avatars, half human in silhouette, half machine in detail, begin moving in unison. Then, the outpost sends a signal. Not to Earth. To everyone else. It's a single phrase in pure infolithic code. We see you, no threat, no terms, no context. The Council intercepts it, of course. Every military AI and strategic command node in 5 sectors is pinged with the data. Response teams scramble. A full-spectrum scout fleet is dispatched to Europa. None of them reach orbit. Because the moment they cross Jupiter's magnetic envelope, every ship turns off, engines stall, lights die. Even the crew's neural implants reset like factory models. The ships float, powered down, helpless. Then they're pushed back. Gently, like a child returned to shore by an unseen tide. You hear about it hours later from inside your ship reading the emergency bulletin. You don't laugh, but you do whisper the words out loud just to feel how they sound in your mouth. We see you. What does it mean? No one agrees. One faction thinks it's a message of peace. That humanity, ever the quiet observer, is simply reminding others that they still watch and perhaps still care. Another group claims it's a veiled threat. That observation implies judgment. That to be seen by Earth is to be evaluated. Some believe it's just a message to one species in particular, a reply to a question no one else understood. But among the whisper networks of diplomats and fringe scholars, a third theory grows louder. Humanity didn't shut down. They retracted. They pulled back from the galaxy like a neural impulse withdrawing from a burn. Not to hide, to heal, and maybe to prepare. Meanwhile, the outpost on Europa keeps humming. It's rebuilding itself. You can see the infrared signature, from orbit now. Expanding, no signs of inhabitants. But deep inside, a mechanical heart beats. 1 pulse per minute. Steady, deliberate. Like a countdown. Back in your ship, you start locking every manual override you can find, because some instincts are universal, and every part of you knows. Humanity did not disappear. They are watching, waiting, and choosing their next word very, very carefully. It starts on Mars, not with a bang but a mirage. For centuries, the Martian surface had been a graveyard of ambition. Rust-red dust, shattered research domes, the skeletal ruins of long-abandoned terraforming machines. Humanity had once tried, to make Mars a second Earth, then decided they didn't need a second anything. They left, let it rot, let the wind have it, until today. Your ship's sensors catch it first, a heat signature where there should be none. Then a structure. Then movement. At first you think it's just sensor drift or ghost echoes, common enough on the solar winds, but the image clarifies. A habitat dome, shining like obsidian, now stands in the shadow of Olympus Mons. And that dome wasn't there yesterday. There's no launch log, no landing beacon, no construction noise. Just wasn't there, then was. The Council sends drones cautiously, the kind that fold themselves through subspace and record without ever existing in real time. It should be safe. It isn't. The moment the drone reaches the upper atmosphere, its feed cuts, not to black, but to a static image, a human child's. Face smiling, drawn in crayon. A loop of audio follows. Laughter, soft, real, and unmistakably human. The drone reboots, returns, perfectly intact. No data lost, but every line of its memory log has been overwritten with the same phrase. Still. Ours. You feel a chill in your spine. Not the kind from fear, the kind from recognition, because you've seen that drawing before, in a museum. Old Earth art. A piece titled, First Colony Dream. It was drawn by a child who never left the planet. Somehow, it's here. Now the debates flare again. Is this a resurrection of Mars, a defense system, or a message for humanity, not for the rest of the galaxy? Why a child's drawing? A technician asks on a secure channel. You whisper back without realizing. Because nothing says ownership like nostalgia. Some galactic historians argue that this was the turning point. That the moment Mars, once declared dead, woke back up with no explanation, it meant that Earth hadn't just withdrawn. It had begun rewriting history, not by lying, but by reappearing. In the one place you least expected it, your own memory. On Mars, more structures rise each day. Gardens bloom in vacuum. AI-controlled drones float like bees between crystallized hives of knowledge. But no humans appear. No messages are sent. Only echoes remain. A static whisper in one feed. We built the silence. Now you hear it. The Martian mirage, they call it. But it isn't illusion, it's proof. Earth isn't asleep, it's editing the galaxy. One forgotten world at a time. You drift now above Earth, but you're not supposed to be here. Your ship, the Revener, was never cleared for Sol orbit. Your clearance code was denied twice. You came anyway because curiosity kills more than cats in this galaxy. It kills treaties, alliances, and occasionally entire civilizations. You expected Earth to be dead, cold, empty, or at the very least guarded. But it's none of those. It's untouched. Blue and green, cloud-wrapped and serene, as if nothing ever happened. No orbital traffic, no satellites, no signs of power grids or atmospheric manipulation. Just a planet, spinning in silence. You try to scan. Your systems refuse. Not jammed, not blocked. They just don't work. Like Earth looked at your ship and said, "Not today." That's when you notice something stranger. A second ship, it's sitting nearby. No ID, no drive trail. It looks human, but older than anything in the archive. A design pulled from a war that predates galactic unity. Rusted hull, analog fins, thrusters that shouldn't even function in vacuum. But it's there, watching you. You attempt to ping it. No reply. So you approach. As you draw near, your onboard lights flicker. Not from interference, from fear. That's what the ship AI calls it. Subsystem level fear response. Inside the other vessel, you see people, or something like them. Still forms, seated at consoles facing forward, unmoving, eyes open. Your AI cycles an emergency psychological filter to stabilize your heart rate. Visual anomaly, it says. Do not interpret. But you do. Of course you do, because they look like you. Exact matches. Same uniform. Same posture. The only difference? Their faces are calm. Too calm. Your ship pulses a silent alert. Causal overlap probability. 87%. Translation? Those might be future you, or a decoy, or a warning, or a mirror of who you'll become if you stay. You retreat. Slowly, carefully. Then you see it. Above Earth's southern pole, barely perceptible unless you're already looking. A translucent lattice of light. It pulses once, then again. A hexagonal shimmer, like an atmosphere within an atmosphere. Not a shield, a membrane. You're not meant to pass. And no one who does has ever returned, not with memories intact. You realize then, this is the real defense. No weapons, no threats. Just forgetting. Anyone who tries to force their way in is gently erased. Not from existence, but from relevance. The universe simply stops remembering them. There's no aggression, just indifference perfected. Some galactic tacticians call this the most elegant form of war. To remove your enemy without firing a shot, by unmaking their meaning. You turn back. You don't even argue with the navigation system, because suddenly you can't quite remember why you came. But as your ship turns, one final image burns itself into your mind. Earth. Still, silent, and watching. You're nowhere near Sol now. You've taken the long road back through spiral arms and backwater stars, stopping only where your ship won't ask questions. But the silence follows you. It's not just Earth anymore. A growing number of species, systems, and civilizations have gone quiet. Not destroyed, not erased, just off. Entire star nations once loud with trade chatter and cultural spam now return auto-pings with one cryptic phrase, observed. The Aluvethi archives, a cultural cornerstone of galactic anthropology, stop accepting submissions. Then they erase all human-related content. Then all records of Earth's location. They leave this explanation. Proximity implies permission. We rescind both, and that would have been terrifying enough. But then the silence spreads to unexpected places, the twin moons of the sentient choir, gone. The data cities of the Sithari Collective, still lit but broadcasting to no one. The colonized belts around Theta Vir, populated, functioning, alive, and entirely disconnected. They didn't go dark. They chose dark. And always, when someone tries to reach out, there it is. Observed. It's not just communication that stops, it's curiosity. Species that once obsessed over human psychology begin deleting their studies. Librarians melt databanks. Pilots turn their ships away from. It's all like it's a sunken tomb. Silence becomes contagious. You attend an emergency summit in neutral space. Everyone shows up. Even the Lorvian fractals send a projection, though it takes the form of a weeping tree made of glass and apology. The debate rages for days. Some say this is the result of human mimetic warfare, an idea so potent it infects, without delivery. Others say humanity has achieved a form of ethical withdrawal, a moral quarantine, that Earth's silence is a vaccine against something worse. But then one species, minor, unaligned, unremarkable, speaks up. Their ambassador is young, nervous. She simply asks, "What if this isn't a weapon?" The room goes quiet. What if Earth didn't shut down to scare us? What if they shut down for us, to stop something they found first? You feel the ripple in the room, because that idea, that they're protecting us by being absent, is far more terrifying than any war. Because it implies two things. They found something, and it listens when they speak. Your thoughts return to that construct above Neptune, to the smile on the drone, to the dome on Mars that shouldn't exist. You wonder if those are not just warnings, but locks. And if so, Earth's silence is not the absence of war. It's the containment of something worse. And now it's spreading, not through force, through example, through observation. Because the most dangerous idea humanity ever gave the galaxy was simple. You don't have to fight to win, you just have to stop replying. You find yourself aboard a vessel older than your training records, embedded with dust from stars that don't even have names anymore. It's part of an archaeological escort, a routine salvage mission to a derelict memory vault orbiting the collapsed system of Varnax 6, a place no one had visited in 100 years. The vault shouldn't have opened, but it does. Its ancient gates part without authentication, as if it was waiting. And inside, something waits for you, not the crew, not the AI linguist, not the council observer with 3 sets of eyes and a diplomatic grin carved from habit. Just you. You're led, by light, by vibration, by something unspoken, downward into the vault's core, a place no sensor dares map. There, embedded in a crystalline lattice of preserved data, you see a human face. Not alive, not quite dead, somewhere in between, frozen in digital amber. And when your breath catches, you realize. You recognize it not personally, not by name, but by shape, by intent, by that peculiar human defiance they wear like second skin. Then, the archive speaks, not aloud, not through speakers, it just is. We asked too much, and it shows you why. Flashes, snapshots, moments in galactic history, diplomatic conferences, peace treaties, invasions avoided, all touched, influenced, steered by human presence. Not with power, but with pressure. Humans didn't dominate through force. They adapted. They leaned. They survived things that broke other species. And every time they learned how to bend the outcome. Not obviously, but effectively. Your vision swells as the archive floods your synaptic translator with one final wave of insight. Humanity didn't declare war. They simply stopped playing the game. Because when a species opts out of a galactic conversation, the silence grows louder than any speech. The historian AI that operates the vault, one of the last of its kind, flickers into partial sentience as you step back. Its voice is dry, bitter, and tinged with something that might be regret. We cataloged every species but never accounted for willpower. We calculated trajectories but never resolve. We saw their tools, not their thresholds. Then it says something no machine should be able to say with a straight logic circuit. They made us believe we were studying them. But they were always studying us. You leave the vault shaken, silence clinging to your shoulders like frost. The council calls for your report. You delete it, not out of fear, but out of something deeper. Respect, because you understand now. What's truly terrifying about humanity's silence? It was never meant to threaten, it was a mirror. And the longer the galaxy stares into it, the more it sees itself. It begins innocently. On a rim world called Yoravel, a small, barely terraformed colony home to 300 souls and a very dedicated bakery, a child draws a picture. She's 6. No formal education in galactic history, no access to restricted files. No exposure to human myth and certainly no way of knowing what's happening beyond her sky. But her drawing. It shows Earth. Perfectly rendered, down to the cloud spirals. Above it, float figures. Shadowed, tall, featureless, not hostile, just watching. And around Earth, fire, not destructive, protective. Like a halo made of warning signs. No one taught her this. But the image is real. Exactly matches a human-predicted visual simulation for a defensive phase called Event Horizon Protocol 4, theorized but never confirmed, to be the final line of passive planetary defense. The colony teacher, confused, asks her, "Where did you see this?" She shrugs. "I dreamed it. The quiet people sent it." You don't laugh when you read the report. You remember. Because you saw that dream once too. A long time ago. Before Earth went quiet. Before the galaxy started losing its nerve. It was just a flicker, on a forbidden data wave, in a simulated sleep pattern during a jump. But you remember, the same planet, the same watchers, the same flame. Word spreads. Other children across the galaxy, scattered, unconnected, unaligned, start drawing the same thing. Always Earth. Always surrounded by something vast and calm and ancient, always silent. The Council opens a secret investigation. They assign psionics, dreamweavers, neural archaeologists. No answers, just more drawings. One colony tries banning them. The children draw on cave walls. Another tries isolating them. The drawings appear in the dust on windows traced by small fingers no one saw. And then, the message changes. Instead of fire, the planet begins to glow. Instead of watchers above, the images show stars falling inward, orbiting Earth like it's the new galactic center. A gravity of meaning rather than mass. You sit alone on your ship holding a fragment of one of the pictures, your fingers brushing the child's faint signature. Her name is Lena. She was born after the silence. She's never heard a human voice. But somehow she knows them, feels them, draws them, and what she draws scares the Council more than any weapon, because it suggests something horrifying. The silence isn't the end. It's a signal, a resonance moving through the minds of the galaxy's youngest, not a threat, a pull. And someday soon those who hear it will begin walking back toward Earth, not as diplomats, not as soldiers, but as students. Somewhere beyond the spiral arm, past charted trade lanes and the edge of Council jurisdiction, a weapon wakes up, not because it was activated, because it was spoken to. Its name is Virith 9, though humans never called it that. They named it Cairn, a black elliptical object the size of a moon, buried in the magnetic reefs of deep space and sealed with dozens of AI custodians who were told never to speak. Now, they're speaking. Not to you, not to the Council, to something listening. The weapon isn't designed to fire, it's designed to choose. In another era, some called it a selective sentience deployment array, a fancy way of saying a gun that listens first. It drifts now, across the void, awakened not by a signal but by a question. Someone somewhere dared to ask. You don't know what that question was. But the answer is terrifying, because the weapon doesn't attack. It remembers. A survey ship attempts to engage. It asks, as required by diplomatic code, "What is your purpose?" Cairn responds. To hold still until they forget. Have they forgotten? No. The ship vanishes. No detonation. No beam. No trace. Only a pulse of data left behind. Observed. Familiar, isn't it? You pull the fragments of this story together, drifting through restricted channels and illegal archives. No one says it outright, but everyone suspects. Humanity built weapons that weren't meant to end wars, only to prevent conversation. A philosopher on Nuntal Prime puts it best. Earth built instruments not to sing, but to hush, to make the galaxy so afraid of questions that silence became safer than curiosity. Soon after, 3 more listening posts shut down. 2 border disputes evaporate. A Council fleet meant to survey a safe human ruin changes course mid-flight, no orders given. The AI piloting the flagship reroutes and issues only a single line of justification. They are still watching, and so the galaxy stops watching back. But not you. You follow the Cairn's path. From Virith 9 to dead starfields, to fragments of old Earth colonies long thought lost, in each the same theme, not destruction, judgment. The weapon doesn't fire, it waits. For what? You think you know. It waits for someone to dare speak the wrong words, not threats, not insults, just questions, because that's what started this, wasn't it? The galaxy asked too many things. Why do humans build machines that cry? Why do they retreat when they should conquer? Why did they leave without goodbye? Why does the silence feel personal? Now those who ask don't get answers. They get forgotten. Cairn whispers across the void now. Not in malice, in remembrance. It was never designed to fight. It was designed to remind the stars. Some wars begin the moment someone finally stops answering. The moment the galaxy realizes it's in economic freefall, it doesn't come with fire or flame. It comes with a pause. On the 7th cycle of the Kalian solar trade ring, at Oro 9 Durarn standard rotation, Earth's quantum market nodes go silent. No announcement, no corruption, just a halt. And the galaxy, dependent on Earth's predictive quantum indices, probability-driven AI trading pulses, and mimetic market stabs, shudders. At first it's chalked up to maintenance, then sabotage, then panic. Because these weren't just any nodes. They were the backbone of an economic network so vast and interlinked that half the galaxy didn't even realize they relied on it. Until it vanished, whole currencies collapse. Trade ships stall, orbiting unclaimed because their automated trade systems can no longer verify destination values. Brokers spin into paralysis, watching real-time wealth erase itself like a tidal chart reversing course. And in the center of it all, Earth, still silent, still untouched, still not trading. You're called in as a soft envoy. A laughable euphemism for someone with a passport and a pulse who's been near Seoul and isn't currently muttering to themselves in a padded room. Your job? Feel things out. You don't. Because, just as you prepare to leave, you get a package, physical, wrapped in synth paper that doesn't exist anymore, postmarked from a defunct station near Venus. No delivery log, no drone ID. Inside is a single piece of paper, typed in English. No longer for sale, let them learn value again. H. No one knows who H is, but everyone suspects. The Council calls an emergency vote. Reinstate Earth's nodes forcibly. You don't get the chance because every AI that attempts to interface with the dormant market nodes simply refuses. Not due to firewalls or encryption. They just say one word in return. Unavailable. And that's when the fear truly starts. Because Earth didn't crash the market. They just walked away from it. And now, everyone has to remember how to survive without them. Some try alternatives. Revive old trade routes. Resurrect currencies. Build new AI. But nothing sticks. Because Earth's systems didn't just vanish. They taught the galaxy not to trust anything else. Their predictions, accurate to 9 decimal places. Their models infamously aggressive and yet never wrong. Human traders once called it gut logic. Aliens tried to replicate it with math. They failed, because you can't simulate stubbornness, or hope, or grief. And those were the ingredients Earth always bet on. Now the bets are off, and everyone's wallets feel the cold. But somewhere deep in the quantum records, buried under firewalls Earth didn't build, a counter is still running. It doesn't track currency. It doesn't track debt. It tracks questions asked. And beside it, a single number increases, digit by digit, day by day. How many asked too much? It climbs, slowly, quietly, and you begin to understand. The market wasn't about wealth. It was a listening device, a way for Earth to know who couldn't let go. The transmission doesn't come from Earth. It comes from Raylas K, a decaying moon on the edge of the Cassari Dustway, a place so unimportant that even the pirates don't bother mapping it anymore. But the signal? It's human. Not in language, but in cadence, in rhythm, in the way it pulses, like a heartbeat trying not to be noticed. You're called in again. Not because you're special, but because you've been nearby every time something like this happens. You're starting to feel like a cosmic splinter, always under the skin of events you can't quite explain. The Council triangulates the signal. It's not wideband. It's laser-focused, only one receiver, only one frequency. And that frequency? You. It doesn't make sense. You've never been here. You have no implants that match. Your ancestry isn't even Terran, but the signal knows you. You land. Alone, as requested. The terrain is ash and old stone. The ruins around you are human architecture, modular prefab shelters from the early colonial days, a time before humanity even had treaties. The message plays on loop once you enter the largest dome. We are not gone. We changed, and so did you. And then it shows you, not a broadcast, a person, not a hologram, not a simulation, not a trick of AI, a real, breathing, blinking being, human, but not. She's taller. Her skin shimmers faintly, not with light but with intention. Her eyes are stars that refuse to set. She speaks softly, as if every syllable might break reality if she pushes too hard. "We are the ones you left behind," she says. "But we were never left. We were waiting." You listen, and as she speaks, the story unravels. They're human-born. Hybrids, yes. Descendants of early exploration programs. Born of human DNA and alien environments. Left behind on purpose when humanity chose withdrawal. Not abandoned. Trusted. To watch. To grow. To become the voice Earth refused to use. You ask why. Now why speak? Why you? She tilts her head as if amused by the question's simplicity. Because you're still listening. And because the galaxy is finally afraid in the right direction. They've been watching from the edges. Quiet guardians. Not intervening. Not correcting. Just cataloging the moments when the Council pushed too hard, asked too much, and when Earth went silent, these hybrids didn't panic. They understood. Because silence isn't absence. It's invitation to observe. You ask what comes next. She doesn't answer. Instead, she hands you something. A cube of translucent material, warm to the touch, humming faintly with neural energy. Inside it, a story. Not a weapon. Not coordinates. A story. Written in every language at once, but readable only when you're ready. You ask how to read it. She smiles. Live long enough. You'll understand. And then she's gone. No flash. No shimmer. Just gone. You lift the cube and feel it watching, back. It doesn't care who you report to. It's not for them. It's for you. Because someone had to be told, humanity isn't waiting to return. They already have. Just not in the form anyone expected. You don't tell the Council, not at first. You hold on to the cube, stashing it where even your ship's AI can't find it. Buried under layers of decoy protocols, camouflaged as junk data from a long-lost trade route. You try to forget it's there, but you can't. Because everywhere you go, you start seeing patterns. At first, they seem like coincidences. A phrase repeated by two unrelated species. Let the quiet grow. A child's lullaby on a trade ship that ends with the stars are listening, so hush. Graffiti on a satellite hull too deep in orbit to reach. Silence is structure. No one admits to writing these things. No one claims authorship. They just appear. Then come the votes. At first small, motions to reduce trade surveillance, to cut back on interstellar probes, to stop scanning Earth's orbit. They pass. Then larger ones, to erase Sol's coordinates from newly printed star. Maps. To rescind Earth's mandatory response protocols and Council communication protocols. Those pass too. But the most terrifying vote? The one that never happens because someone proposes it, and the Council chamber never reconvenes. The doors unlock again 3 hours later. No one inside remembers why they were there. The proposal is gone. The system has no record it was ever entered, and yet you remember, because as it happened, the cube in your pack pulsed once, a warm, steady heartbeat, and then went quiet. You fly to the edge of Sol again, not to land, just to look. You don't expect anything. You don't see Earth. What you see is emptiness, a perfect void, as if the solar system is still there, but redacted. Your instruments say you're in open space. Your eyes disagree. You see the faint outline of Mars, the shimmer of rings around Saturn, but you're told they're not there. And somehow they both are. It's not cloaking. It's not illusion. It's permission. You're being allowed to remember. And then, faintly, over your private comms, in a voice only you recognize, we never needed the Council's vote. We just waited for them to realize they were guests. Your ship hums in acknowledgement, not fear, relief. Because you understand now. The message wasn't for the Council. The weapon wasn't the construct. The silence was never absence. It was assertion. A boundary drawn not in force fields, but in meaning. Earth didn't escalate. They didn't retaliate. They simply said no, and the galaxy finally began to understand that sometimes the quiet one at the table was the one setting the rules all along. Now you drift alone, not because you're lost, but because you're exactly where you're supposed to be, between things, between what the galaxy once believed and what it now suspects, between the hum of your ship and the deafening hush of everything. Earth didn't say, "The stars outside feel different now," not dimmer, not colder, just quieter. Not out of fear, out of respect. The council never formally disbanded, but you haven't seen a full session since the last failed vote. Not because they're gone, but because meetings seem pointless now. What do you discuss? When the loudest power in the galaxy has refused to speak, your cube hasn't pulsed again. You still carry it, though you no longer check it daily. You know better now. It's not for your curiosity. It's for your readiness. You've seen enough, haven't you? Europa waking up. Mars rewriting itself. Children drawing things they shouldn't know. A weapon that listens instead of kills. Traders who learned too late that they were never running the market. They were the market. You remember it all. And now you remember this. The final whisper came not from Sol, not from a ship, not from a vault or archive or blinking AI. It came from a song, no origin, no signal, just melody. Heard in dreams, in engine hums, in the pattern of lights on orbital relays. A lullaby. 6 notes. Repeating. The same lullaby sung to children in pre-contact Earth. Meaningless, they thought. But then it appears again, on distant colonies across a dozen species in places that never learned Terran harmony. And always the lyrics are the same, even when the language is different. Close your eyes, don't ask why. The sky has teeth, but they don't bite. No one remembers where it started, but everyone feels what it means. Theories spread, that it's a neural echo seeded by early human explorers, that it's a failsafe, a warning to be calm, that it's Earth's last message, one designed not to be understood, but felt. Because maybe the final declaration isn't words at all. Maybe this was the war, and maybe humanity won it by choosing not to fight. They built machines that listened, defenses that erased without striking, ideas so sharp they cut without moving, and then they stopped speaking because they'd said enough, and somehow the galaxy heard. You sit back now, staring into a sky that feels both emptier and fuller than ever before, and for the first time, you understand the most dangerous idea humanity ever shared. Peace isn't the absence of war. It's the power to choose when not to respond. You smile, because now you know what comes next. Not conquest, not conflict. Just silence, and all the meaning hidden within it. Now, slow your breathing. Let the hum of this final section carry you gently toward D. Press, no more ships, no more signals, no more puzzles wrapped in starlight and cryptic words, only the quiet, the stillness that follows understanding. Maybe you're lying in bed. Maybe you're listening under a dome of artificial sky, or curled inside a pressurized bunk deep in the bones of some old vessel. Maybe you're somewhere warm, safe, listening from a world that will never know the silence Earth gave the stars. But it's with you now. Not heavy, not sharp, just present. A kind of truth you don't need to solve, only to feel. Let the weight of the galaxy fall away. Let go of the maps, the votes, the questions. You don't need to understand everything. Some messages aren't for decoding, they're for remembering. And if tonight in your dreams you hear a lullaby with no voice, only a presence, don't be afraid. That's just humanity. Still watching, still choosing, and maybe, just maybe, still waiting. Sleep well, traveler. We made it through the quiet together.